My lords, ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome to episode 34 of our Transport Fever 2 Deluxe DLC series based in the fictional American Southwest. We're starting today back in the city of Norfolk, much like we did last time out. And last time, if you remember, and I'm sure you do, we connected another main line to our network that runs from Norfolk down into the city of Knoxville, and we started our first passenger trains for this service. And at the end of the episode, we also provided the city of Norfolk with an internal bus service because we noticed that our station was just out of reach of our major residential areas in Norfolk, and of course we do need a way to get our citizens and our visitors from the station to their homes, places of work, places of leisure, and so on. Now, last time I did hope to get a little bit more accomplished insofar as I'd have liked to have connected some local services to some of the nearby towns and villages that we have. Unfortunately, time constraints meant that wasn't possible. So that's what we're going to be picking up with today, looking to get some local services set up, and I think the first one that we're going to aim for will be the city of Wilmington. It's one of the most local cities, most nearby cities geographically, and our main line already does skirt past the outskirts of Wilmington, so coming in from our existing infrastructure into that city should be, in theory, relatively straightforward. So let's bring up the user interface then so we can see the state of affairs. Of course, financially we don't need to concern ourselves anymore. When you have 12 billion in the bank, you can do whatever the heck you would like, and the cash flow is looking healthy as well, over $250,000 being generated every year at the moment. And in terms of our date, it's September, almost October of 1953. Okay then, so let's hop over to Wilmington. Now, we did intentionally lay these tracks near Wilmington so we could fit in a junction somewhere around here that will come into Wilmington. Of course, we do need to build a station for Wilmington. I think Wilmington is going to be one of those cities where we perhaps don't supply it with any commodities just to keep it artificially small. But saying that, we do have tools literally just over the river from the city, so maybe we will at some point bring some tools into Wilmington. But the fuel, I think we will just leave that alone. So Wilmington will see some growth, of course, but it's not going to be as focused or as targeted as in some of our other cities. Okay then, so we need to build a train station, don't we? Now, as has become the standard so far for this series, I am going to look to have our station reasonably central to the city of Wilmington, and I'm just going to pause the game here while we do this, just so they don't start rebuilding the roads that we've just demolished. And I think we could put it there. Do we have... yeah, what we could do is if we just reroute this road here to say come in down here, this would leave us with plenty of space to put our passenger station. So let us do that. Let's delete this back. We have had to remove a few residences, of course, to take care of all of this, but that's not too much of a concern. They should rebuild pretty soon. And the first thing we want to do is just connect this road here into perhaps that junction that is waiting for us just there. Okay, ooh, could we have a bridge over? No, it looks a bit daft. I think we'll go for a level crossing, but what we'll do is just to make sure our level crossing is as nice and as aesthetically pleasing as possible, we'll just create a nice flat area that's level with the height of this track here. and then we'll build in the road. And what we'll do is we'll build our level crossing first of all. That's coming out the wrong sort of, let's have it do that and that. So that gives us a nice flat and smooth crossing point, and then we can just curve that into that junction there, and no, we don't want to do it that way, that looks a little bit odd. And then bring this in to here, and that looks a lot better, a lot smoother, and a lot more pleasing to the eye. Just smooth off the edges there where we had to flatten the terrain, just to blend it all back together nicely. Wonderful. Okay, so now we can put down our passenger station. Let's see, what are you colliding with there? I'm not sure what it was, but we seem to have moved out of the danger zone, if you will. And shall we have it there? I think we shall. Now, we don't want to call this Wilmington branch, this is just Wilmington straight, so let's just quickly rename that, and then we can put a street connection down just along the front of the station, although we might need to smooth the terrain off just once more to make sure our road is nice and level, although that is generating something of a slope against, although I don't actually, I'm not too opposed to that. Yeah, of course that might get messed up when the AI starts to connect into this road network that we're building here, but I think if we go something like that and then come from that level crossing in like that, okay, yeah, that's it's not the best. You have this weird overhang here with the curb, and no, we can't. I can't stomach that. That's just not very nice at all. Perhaps then we'll come into here like that, and then I tell you what, let's just push all of this back. Let's just get rid of all of that. So that's going to, of course, reduce the population and city size of Wilmington even further than we already have done. And now can we come in nicely from here? How does that look? Well, that looks better. It's a little bit steep there as it climbs the hill to get to the station, but the actual crossing looks fine, and we don't have any weird graphical glitches. Perhaps a little raised curbstone there, but we don't have that cliff face overhang that we had over on the opposite side, so that's much more acceptable. Okay, and can we do anything here? Oh yes, we can. We can bring that down there, and again a little steep or a little bump there, and again you have this dropped curb, but I think that's standard at level crossing, so there's nothing we can do about that. And then connect in there, and I'm tempted just to run a road that comes parallel with the train line before connecting in there. Yeah, let's do something like that. Okay, so now we can start the gate. Whoops, did not mean to use that terrain tool. Wanted to just blend it all out like this. There we go. So as I was saying, we can resume the game now and allow them to begin reconstruction work on their fine city that we just had to rip up to some extent. And we can get a connection down from here into here, and that should be reasonably straightforward. So we want tracks, and we will use high speed because even our mainlines, our non-mainline passenger services, forgive me there, now are able to exceed 75 miles per hour, so we want to use the high speed. And I think we're at a point now where we will use catenary as default. We hadn't done that up until this point, but we will make an effort now to actually bring the catenary into play. Right, so 18 meters is the height there, and over here we're at about 8 meters. So we need to be dropping down. So let's see. So we're going to go into a tunnel here, which is actually a bit of a blessing because it does mean we will, or we should, tunnel beneath this road here. Let's see if that works, shall we? Wonderful. We're down to 6 meters, which is a bit too low. We want to be at 8. So we'll come up to 8 meters there. So the gradient now is starting to ease off somewhat. And now we should be able to come in and connect into our network just here. And let's take a peek at the overlap. Oh, it's not great. Let's see, can we bring that up a little bit just to make it blend a little better? That looks a bit more pleasing. We are unlocking extra vehicles up at the top there. I did see a bus and there's a tram. I think there was 2 others that I did miss. I think one was a diesel engine. Yeah, it's one of those at Toronto, Hamilton and Buffalo. But we can have a look at those in a moment. So there's our junction off to Wilmington. So the next thing we want to do is, as usual, make sure we have our signals in place for the junction. And I'm going to put a signal there for the local service. And we'll put a signal there for the junction, removing that signal. And I think we'll also remove that signal. And then we'll put a dwarf signal set inside the tunnel, like that. And then we'll do the same in this tunnel here. And we'll have 2 sets of signals in this tunnel, like that. And I think we'll also go 1 signal there. And then from here to the station, it's pretty straightforward. We need to, of course, still put in our diamond before we finish off, so make sure we do that. And I think we're going to have to squeeze it in this side, and it is a slow diamond and we can't do it there, too much slope. Didn't mean to demolish that run of track now. Let's just reconnect that, thank you. Alright, let's see, can we get a diamond in here? That's pretty good. 63 mile per hour is more than good. And let's get that level. That looks about right. Again, 63 miles per hour, as we can see here and here, is the slowest speed on that crossing. So again, that is more than tolerable. Okay, so that should work for now. Do we need a bus service for Wilmington? Yes, we will. We have some coverage here and over here, of course, but the vast majority of our city is not having a service. So let's take care of that. So we'll have a bus right outside the train station, and then we'll run down here. We'll have one there, we'll have one there, and we will have one there. We don't need anything too big for this city because, as I mentioned towards the start of the episode, this is one of those cities we're going to keep artificially small. Let's give this a nice blue colour. There we go. So this is B, and we can look at that new bus that we just unlocked now. And what is the city name? It is Wilmington, and we'll just call it Wilmington 01. So let's get ourselves a road depot. Let's pop it just there. And this gives us a chance to look at that new bus. So it was this one here, the PD4051 Scenic Cruiser. As we can see, we've got this canopy. I can't remember the correct term now. It's it's just a nice way to view the surrounding. I can't remember the term for it. And how is it? How is it in terms of its performance? 50 miles an hour. Oh, it actually carries more than the Greyhound Silversides, which is what we're using at the moment, and it's actually also ever so slightly better on the old emission front as well. So I think we'll use these buses. I think 4 should be adequate for this city. Make sure they match the line colour, send them on their way. And here they come. A very unique style bus, very unique design. Great for tourists, and if you're going cross-country and you want to look at the scenery. Perhaps not so useful if you're just going through downtown, but what the heck. And while we're here, let's just go ahead and replace all of our other bus services with these new vehicles. So it's all of them bar Wilmington, because of course we have just done Wilmington. So let's swap them out. And 22 million, give or take. And I think what we'll also do is all of our buses will now have very high maintenance. So chances are all of our bus lines are going to operate at a loss, but it does mean their emissions are going to be as suppressed as we possibly can, which is obviously a good thing. Okay, so now we can do a line from Norfolk to Wilmington. So let's do that new line. Norfolk. What colour do we want to use for this? Let's use that dark teal sort of colour just there. And you come up to Wilmington. There we go, nice and straightforward there. And we will call this the Norfolk Wilmington. Quite simple. I've completely misspelled Wilmington there and I've done it again. This is a little bit embarrassing. There we go, Wilmington. Just double check. I've confused myself now. Yep, that is correct. Yeah, that was a special moment right there. We use the 4-letter abbreviations. Okay, so I don't think we'll just leave it. It doesn't matter. Right, so now we can buy a train here. What do we want to use? Well, we can have a look at the ones we've just unlocked, which are these 65 mile per hour. Not really going to cut it for what we're needing. 75, maybe something like this. It's going to be perhaps a little overkill. But just to get it on the network, this sort of train, why don't we? We'll not find any passenger wagons there. So we shall use the All America Golden Sand. And I think we'll go for 4. Well, it's only mediocre. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if this is not the most efficient service that we've ever produced. To start with, I think we'll go for 1. And do we want to give it a colour scheme, which is that dark teal there? Not sure what's happened there. Let's just pretend it hasn't happened. I'm sure the train is not going to be just a solid teal block. Let's just check that, shall we? Just to make sure. Nope, there we go. Okay, you've made your point. Right, so there... Why are you so... I don't know why that train horn was so loud from so far away, but you can certainly hear that fellow coming. So that's that setup. Norfolk to Knoxville is 106 passengers waiting for pickup, which is pleasing to see. This should pick up pretty soon. Might take a little while, but it's not the end of the world. And where do we want to go to next then? Perhaps, well, I think Grand Prairie could be quite a scenic route, because we have these mesas here that we'd have to contend with. Grand Prairie will absolutely be one of those cities that we keep as small and as limited as possible. And how would we want to... Norfolk needs construction materials. Do we have a way to get construction materials into Norfolk easily? Not in the nearby locality, and running it all the way from here somewhere. Where's our... We do have brickworks up by Haywood. Yes, we do. I mean, they could run through Knoxville and all the way around. We'll come back to that. That's not what today is all about. Yeah, let's also get a passenger service set up to the small city of Grand Prairie. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, we have platforms here. I think what we would do is maybe share this stretch of track just here as it goes through this tunnel, before we then have a junction somewhere along here with a view to coming this way. Would we want to snake around all of this and then come through here where the joining mesas are quite narrow so we don't have a large tunnel? Or would we instead come up here and just go for a longer tunnel but a more direct route? I think going for the more direct route does make the most sense, so that's exactly what we shall do. So again, passenger building over here in Grand Prairie. Let's pop it there. Yeah. And we want that road connection because this is going to be one of those cities that we keep artificially small. We'll just use small roads, in front of the station. And if the traffic gets a bit hectic, then it is what it is. It's sloping down there. Let's redo that. That's too much slope. It would be better if it was a little bit smoother and flatter. So to that end, let's do this. Smooth all of that off around both sides of the station. Rebuild the road first of all just in front of the terminal building, and then connect it in like that. Much better, much more pleasant. And then the edges, as usual, we just smooth them and blend them in. There we go, perfect. What sort of reach do you have? Not the best. So again, before we start anything else, let's get a nice simple bus service through this town. And again, we're not going for anything massive or complicated, just a nice simple loop system. So let's pop this one down. There we go. Now, spelling prairie would be quite difficult because it's one of those words that just seems to have letters in all the wrong places for me, for somebody who's not used to spelling that sort of word, of course. But thankfully, it's on the screen right in front of us, so if I'd not said anything, I could have made myself look smart. Although, I'm sure there was some of you out there who spelling the word prairie is not a measure of intelligence, it's just something that everybody knows. Anyway, let's move on. So there's our bus. We want the bus depot, or the road vehicle depot, I should say, to correct myself. And let's pop it at that junction just there. Let's, if we can get it roughly square. There we go. Let's get ourselves, we'll use these again and again, just 4 I think will be enough. What colour is that line? It's that salmon sort of colour. I think it's that one there. We didn't change the colour, so yeah, there we go. So that's the bus service. Now we can connect in a passenger line. So we're going to do the usual thing as we leave the station. Keep our tracks straight and keep them level, like so. Put in a fairly simple diamond. And again, the camera angle does seem to have such a huge impact on how straightforward it is to lay in a diamond these days. I'm not sure why that is. But anyway, we've managed to do it. And yeah, we're going to have a bit of a tunnel through here. Follow this around. And perhaps we'll come down here and then double back on ourselves around the foot of this little rocky outcrop and connect in somewhere down here. So as per, the first thing we're going to do is just check our terrain height over here. 12 meters. Okay, so we know what we're aiming for. I've lost my bearings. Here we go. So we want to be at 12, do we? Well, look at that. We're up to 13. Let's just ever so slightly drop that down. There we go. That's now 12. Whoops. That's all kinds of wrong. And come this way. And are we... Yep, we're heading pretty much the correct direction. Come straight through here. You're good up to 16 meters there. Not down to 6, however. There we go. That's what we want. So a bit of a tunnel through the cliff there, which is fine. And then we want to perhaps just curve left just a little, just to sort of swing past the foot of this cliffside here. Now we've gone into another tunnel there. I didn't realise that. I think I'd prefer not to, if I'm honest. Let's just delete the tunnel section and just do that again. How would it look like? Oh, that's no, we will do it. I will go for the cutting, but we don't want to be climbing upwards. We want to be maintaining the current height. So bring the second track through. Another tunnel there. Let's again switch to cuttings. Bring the second track on through. Now this corner here will be fairly tight and slow. In fact, let's just have it go straight. Again with the tunnel, let's change that. And this is where the corner is going to be quite tight. But let's have it short and sharp, so the speed reduction is as contained and as limited as we possibly can. Connecting the second track, there we go. And now we should be good. The speed starts to pick back up pretty much straight away, as we can see. What height are we at? Still at 12. There we go. So in theory now we should be able to connect in pretty tidily here. Now it's a bit slow there, but that's okay. Not overly fussed by that. So we'll hug alongside just as we come up and approach the tunnel, and that's when, of course, before the tunnel, that's where we're going to look to merge these tracks together. And as per usual, it's been a little bit finicky as you pass the signals, which is a little more than frustrating. Apologies if you can hear the helicopter there outside. Of course, it's quite warm here in the UK at the moment, so I do have to have the windows open, otherwise I would be a sweaty mess. So apologies for any ambient noise you may be able to pick up. Anyway, now is a point where we want to think about connecting these together. And 57, what if we do it from this track first of all? That's better. So an extra couple of, maybe an extra 10-15 miles per hour on that. And there we go. So what we want to do now is the usual signal configuration for the junction. So we'll put a signal there and there. We'll put in a couple of short signals along here, because the ambition with all of this is to have the passenger service be the one that receives the priority signaling. And then now that we're separate and distinct, we can space our blocks out quite nicely. This is not going to be a busy line by any stretch of the imagination, so keeping these blocks very well spaced out is not going to be a problem. And we should be fast approaching Grand Prairie. Here we go. Let's go for a 2-head signal light there. Okay, so let's see. So we come through here, we come through here. What we now need to do, of course, is connect into our passenger platforms over here. So let's see. Let's get you to do... no, okay, yeah, let's get you to do that. And into there. Let's bring you out alongside. Into... In fact, no, let's just change that slightly and bring that back and have these connect in. Come on, come on. What are you doing? Come come parallel, please. No, you don't want to, do you? Okay, let's see. We might just have to push that back a little bit then and do that little stretch again. Let's see. Come on. You were fine first time out. There we go. That's it. And hopefully, yes, there we go. That's better. And then what we want to do is, well, first of all, finish that connection. And then over here is have a diamond. And it's gonna have to be a little bit slower than usual because we're quite limited in terms of our available space. And that's gone weird. And bring you in there. Bring you in there. And take you over to there. That'll work. We're not going to be accessing all of these platforms from this direction, but it just completes the look, doesn't it, if you do have them all connected up. Okay. So now, signals. Here's the thing, see, because if we have a junction, sorry, a signal here, we are going to block in this junction without a doubt. So all this may have to just be one block. Yeah, we're going to have to go with that. Let's, however, make sure we do put another signal here, just to increase the amount of blocks that we have down here. And yes, these are going to be very short signals, but it's not a very busy stretch of track, so it should be okay. Anyway, now let's get a line from Grand Prairie down to Norfolk. And what we'll do here is to save, if we have two trains, we don't want to save it waiting there if the other train is on one of the platforms. So first of all, assign you to your own dedicated platform, and then have you also opt for platform 4. In fact, no, let's go for platform 5. So if one's on platform 3, rather than waiting over here and blocking in our incoming freight, our second train can come in and use the secondary platform there. Wonderful. So we'll name this, and this will be Norfolk. And now this is where it's a test. Is that right? I think it is. It looks about right. Again, it's one of those words that I don't have much exposure to, and it's, why have I called it grain? Yeah. That would be ironic, isn't it, if I spell prairie correctly but can't spell the word grand. But yeah, as I was saying, this is not a word people in the UK are exposed to very often, so it's one of those that just looks unusual because we don't see it very much, if that makes sense. I'm sure it probably doesn't. Anyway, now we can get a train. Nope, not by doing that. By doing this. And what service or what do we want to be using here? Now, I want something that's got some pace behind it, of course. But I think at the minute, most of our pace trains, that's too expensive for a small service. Yeah, most of our pace trains are quite expensive. Yeah, let's use the big boy. No, let's not. Maybe a single Alco. Let's see. Just 3 carriages. That's pretty decent performance. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's get 2 of them. 26 mil. And what colour is it? It's almost a... what would you say that is? A lilac sort of colour? Yeah. I think it's that one there. Okay. Assign them onto that line. And away they come. So while we're waiting for that, let's just have a look. So we've got 3 people waiting to travel to Wilmington. We only have 1 train running this service, of course. Where is the said train? I don't know. And we have 26 wanting to come from Wilmington into Norfolk. I'm reluctant to click on the train if I do find it, because it might honk at me and be very loud again. Oh, there it is. Wonderful. Okay, so it's been about 30-35 minutes now, so a good time to end today, I think. And we'll use one of these new Norfolk Grand Prairie services, and we'll take a ride from where we are right now, head over all the way to Grand Prairie and just have a look at this new line that we've managed to construct for ourselves. So we'll just tick over into 1956, just see if anything interesting gets unlocked. Meridian Ferry, and that's your lot. Okay, so nothing of interest to us yet. Boats may be something we do look at in the future, but I've got no plans to do that right now. Although, in terms of alternative mode of transportation, I am quite keen in the near future, in the next episode or two, to perhaps look into aircraft. Anyway, let's pause the date, let's hop on board, and we'll have a nice journey over to Grand Prairie. Still need to sort out that, I tried to point at it and I've messed the camera up, so sorry about that. Because I still need to sort out that road there. I'll probably do that off camera actually, it'll only take a minute. So there you go, thank you very much for watching as always, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed the episode and you're still enjoying the series as a whole. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Your support is deeply appreciated, so thank you very much. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.